Far beyond the stars of the Milky Way, in a small star system known as Zoraya, a message traveled across space. It was not just any message. It was a plea for help, sent in a language made to reach many worlds. The people of Zoraya were in trouble. Their planets were under attack by a force unlike anything anyone had seen before. The signal was weak and breaking up, but it told a story of fear and desperation. The Zorayans said a terrible enemy had come from outside their known space. This enemy was powerful, fast, and cruel. They destroyed cities, wiped out entire fleets, and left no survivors. The Zorians asked for help, but the message grew fainter with each passing second. It was clear they might not last long. The signal reached Earth. The humans had never heard of Zoria before. Their leaders and scientists were surprised. Earth had always been quiet in the galaxy, watching others from afar. But now the message forced them to pay attention. In a large room deep underground, the Earth Space Command Center was buzzing with activity. Screens showed the fading signal and data from satellites tracking the strange energy waves. Commander Sarah Patel stood in front of a wide display, her eyes sharp and serious. "This message, it's a call for help," she said to the room. "They are fighting something big, something dangerous, and if we don't act, they might be gone soon." Scientists and military officers whispered among themselves. Earth had never faced a threat like this. For years, humans had focused on peace and exploration. Their military was strong, but mostly prepared for defense, not war far from home. Dr. Amir Hassan, a leading astrophysicist, stepped forward. The signal came from nearly 200 light-years away. By the time the message arrived, the enemy might already be close to Earth's neighborhood. "We need to understand who they are and what they want." The room fell silent. A war at their doorstep was a frightening thought. Elsewhere, in the halls of the United Nations, the world's leaders gathered. President Elena Morales of Earth spoke to the assembly. "This plea from Zoraya is clear. They face extinction. We cannot ignore this. But sending troops far into space is dangerous. We must decide if Earth is ready to take such a risk." Some leaders nodded in agreement. Others frowned. Many remembered past conflicts on Earth and feared another war. But the message's urgency could not be denied. Back in the command center, the military prepared to respond. Pilots trained, ships were checked, and strategies were drawn. Earth was not known for war, but it was known for its resilience and courage. In a quiet control room, Captain Jason Reed looked at the blinking dots on the star map. Each dot represented a fleet, a potential battle. His voice was steady, but inside, he felt the weight of what was coming. "We may be the last hope for those people," he said softly, "and maybe for ourselves too." As days passed, more signals arrived. Some were encrypted, others raw and broken. They told stories of worlds falling, of brave fighters making their last stand. But one thing was clear: the enemy was relentless. Human scientists worked day and night to decode the messages. They found a pattern in the enemy's attacks: fast strikes, overwhelming power, and no mercy. But humans also noticed something different. Where other species were weak against the enemy's weapons, humans showed a surprising resistance. The news spread quickly. Across Earth, people watched the sky and wondered. Some felt fear. Others felt pride. Humanity was about to step into a larger war, one that would change their place in the galaxy forever. At the same time, the military council argued over the next move. Some wanted to send a small rescue team to save the survivors. Others believed Earth must prepare for full-scale war. They debated the risks, the costs, and the possible outcomes. In the end, the message was too urgent to ignore. The decision was made to send a fleet to Zoraya and beyond. Earth would bring its full military power. Commander Patel stood again before her team. "This is our chance to prove who we are, not just as fighters, but as protectors. We will answer the plea. We will stand with those who need us." The pilots nodded, their faces showing a mix of fear and determination. They knew the battle ahead would be hard, but they also knew that humanity had something others did not: a will to survive and to fight for what was right. As the ships prepared for launch, Earth watched and waited. The stars held their secrets, and now humanity was ready to face them. The room was enormous. It was the place where the most important decisions for Earth were made, the Global Defense Council chamber. High above the cities and oceans, deep within Earth's strongest fortress, leaders from every nation gathered. Some wore uniforms with shining medals. Others wore formal suits. Their faces were tense. The fate of humanity, and perhaps many others, rested on their words. President Elena Morales sat at the head of the table. Her eyes were sharp but tired. She cleared her throat and began, "We have received a clear distress signal from the Zorion system. Their civilization is being attacked by a powerful enemy. If we do not act, they will fall. This enemy may soon threaten our own solar system." Murmurs filled the room. Some leaders looked at each other in worry. Others glanced at the large holographic map hovering above the table. The map showed the vast reaches of space between Earth and Zoria, a distance of almost 200 light-years. General Marcus Hale, a tall man with a voice that commanded attention, stood up. "Madam President, our military forces are ready, but we face a challenge unlike any before. We do not know the true strength of this enemy. Deploying our full military power will risk lives and resources. We must be cautious. But if we hesitate," said Dr. Amir Hassan, the scientist from the Space Command, "this enemy may reach Earth's neighborhood. Our planet could become the next target." A tense silence followed. Ambassador Liu Wei, representing the nations of Asia, leaned forward. "Earth's military is strong, but we have focused mostly on defense. Our fleets are scattered, and our technology, while advanced, is untested in this kind of war. Are we ready to face such a threat?" From the back of the room, Commander Sarah Patel spoke firmly. "We must prepare for war, yes. But we should also remember what makes humanity strong. Our creativity, our determination, and our ability to work together. We have faced dangers before on Earth and in space. We can adapt." The council debated for hours. Some argued for sending only a small fleet, to learn more before committing all resources. Others pushed for full mobilization, sending every available ship and soldier to help Zoria and to prepare Earth's defenses. President Morales listened carefully. "This is not just about saving one planet," she said. "It is about sending a message. If we do nothing, other civilizations will fall and Earth may be next. We must show strength, unity, and courage." Finally, the decision was made. Earth would launch a full military response. Back in the Space Command Center, the announcement brought a mix of relief and anxiety. Captain Jason Reed stood in the training room, watching young pilots practice in flight simulators. Their hands moved, fast, their faces focused. They were ready to face the unknown. Jason thought of the families waiting at home. He knew the war would change everything, but he believed in humanity's spirit. Meanwhile, scientists worked faster than ever. They studied the enemy's signals, trying to understand their weapons and tactics. They found that the invaders used advanced technology that could disrupt normal communications and hide their movements. But humans were finding ways to fight back, using their own technology in new, creative ways. One breakthrough came when Dr. Hassan and his team discovered that the enemy's weapons were less effective against certain materials found only on Earth. This gave the military hope. Earth's unique resources and biology could be an advantage. In the cities, people followed the news closely. Schools held special lessons about space and the importance of unity. Artists created murals and songs to honor the courage of those preparing to leave Earth. Families said goodbye to loved ones who would join the fleet. In a quiet moment, Commander Patel walked through the hangar where ships waited. She looked at the crew loading weapons and supplies. "We do not know what awaits us out there," she said softly to herself, "but we will stand firm for Earth, for the galaxy." Not everyone agreed with the decision to go to war. Some protested in the streets, worried about the cost and the unknown enemy. But the majority understood the danger and stood united. As the ships prepared to launch, the Council sent one final message back to the stars, a promise from humanity. Help was coming. The first fleet of human warships left Earth's orbit with quiet strength. Their engines glowed softly as they moved into the vast dark. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. In the weeks that followed, more messages arrived from Zoraya and neighboring systems. The enemy's attacks were relentless, but the arrival of human forces gave hope to many. The story of a new player in the Galactic conflict spread quickly. Captain Jason Reed's squadron was among the first to reach the front lines. As they approached the war zone, tension filled the air. They were ready to fight, to protect, and to show what humanity was made of. The battle ahead would test their courage and skill. But for the first time, many believed that Earth's full military power could turn the tide. And somewhere deep in space, the enemy was watching, curious and cautious about this new force that had entered the war. The hum of the massive Earth shipyards filled the air like a heartbeat. Across the world, factories, docks, and spaceports worked non-stop. Ships were being built, repaired, and armed. Soldiers trained in every corner of the planet. The call to protect the galaxy had awakened something deep inside humanity. A fierce will to fight, to survive, and to prove their place among the stars. Commander Sarah Patel stood on the observation deck of the flagship Valiant Dawn. The ship was one of the largest ever built by Earth's engineers. Its sleek surface reflected the stars outside. Around her, crews moved with quiet urgency, preparing for the mission that would test them all. Sarah's mind raced with plans and possibilities. They had no clear knowledge of the enemy's full strength or tactics, but she knew that hesitation could cost lives. The fleet would have to be fast, smart, and unbreakable. Below deck, Captain Jason Reed gathered with his squadron. The young pilots were a mix of veterans and rookies, each ready to take their place in the fight. Jason looked around the room and saw faces filled with determination and quiet nerves. "This mission will be unlike anything we've trained for," Jason said. "But remember, we fight for those who can't. We fight because we are humanity, and no matter what comes, we don't give up." The pilots nodded. Their simulators had taught them many things, but nothing compared to the real battle waiting for them. On Earth, the people watched and waited. News broadcasts showed stories of the brave men and women leaving home, stepping into the unknown. Schools held vigils. Families sent messages and gifts to loved ones far away. The world, once divided by politics and small quarrels, had united behind a common cause. In the labs, scientists raced to improve weapons and defenses. New energy shields, faster engines, and smarter AI systems were ready to be deployed. They studied the enemy's patterns and weaknesses, sending their findings directly to the commanders in space. One discovery was especially important. Humans found that their bodies reacted differently to the enemy's weapons than other species. Some soldiers even showed natural resistance to the energy pulses used by the invaders. This gave hope that human biology could be an advantage. "Adapt and overcome," Dr. Amir Hassan told the military leaders. "That is what has always kept humanity alive. We must use everything we have, our minds, our hearts, our technology." As the fleet prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Sarah took one last look at the planet below. Blue oceans, green lands, and white clouds stretched as far as the eye could see. This was home. This was what they fought for. The countdown began. With a deep roar, the engines of the Valiant Dawn and the other ships ignited. Slowly, they lifted off, moving into the blackness of space. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller, until it was just a bright dot among countless stars. Days passed. The fleet traveled through silent space, moving closer to the troubled zones near Zoraya. The soldiers kept busy, training, maintaining equipment, and preparing their minds for the battles ahead. Jason and his pilots flew practice missions around the fleet, testing their ships and working as a team. The bond between them grew stronger. They learned to trust each other's skills and instincts. They knew that in the chaos of war, only unity would save them. One evening, Sarah held a meeting with her senior officers. The latest intelligence reports showed that the enemy had advanced to new territories, destroying settlements faster than expected. "We must be ready for a fight soon," Sarah said. "The enemy is clever. They expect us to be slow or weak, but they have never faced humans before. Her officers nodded. Plans were made to protect the fleet and to launch quick strikes against enemy forces. Captain Reed spoke up. Our training shows that the enemy relies on heavy firepower, but lacks flexibility. If we can outmaneuver them and strike where they don't expect, we can win. Sarah smiled. Exactly. We will use everything we have: speed, surprise, and our human spirit. Meanwhile, on the lower decks, ordinary soldiers prepared their gear. Corporal Maya Chen checked her rifle and helmet, her thoughts drifting to her family back on Earth. This is bigger than any battle we've ever fought, she said to her friend, Private Luis Ortega. But I believe we can do this. We have, too. Luis nodded. We're fighting for the future for all of us. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. The enemy had been spotted ahead. Battle stations, the announcement rang out. The Valiant Dawn and its fleet moved quickly into position. Jason's squadron was ready on the hangar deck, their fighters glowing in the dim light. As they launched, into space stars streaked by. The enemy fleet appeared on the horizon, dark, massive ships moving with deadly purpose. The first shots rang out. Energy beams flashed across the void. The battle was real now. Jason's voice came over the comms, calm but fierce. Remember your training. Stay sharp. Watch your wingmen. The pilots weaved through enemy fire, dodging blasts and returning fire with precision. The enemy was strong, but the humans were faster, more adaptable. Sarah watched the battle unfold from the command bridge. Each move was critical. Each decision could mean victory or defeat. After hours of fighting, the humans pushed the enemy back. They had won this first encounter, but only barely. Sarah breathed deeply, her heart pounding. This is only the beginning, she said. But we have shown that humanity will not be broken. The fleet regrouped, repairing damage and preparing for the next fight. Messages of hope and courage traveled back to Earth. Captain Reed looked at his squadron, proud. We've taken the first step, now we keep moving forward. As the stars continued to shine cold and distant, humanity's resolve burned brighter than ever. They had brought their full military power, and the galaxy was about to see what that truly meant. The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly as the Valiant Dawn and its fleet moved closer to the edge of the known galaxy. Every pilot, every soldier, every crew member felt the weight of what was to come. They were about to meet the enemy, face to face. Captain Jason Reed stood at the front of his squadron's briefing room. The holographic map showed the battle zone, a cluster of small planets where the invaders had destroyed entire civilizations. This was the place where humanity would prove its strength. Listen up, Jason said firmly. This enemy fights hard and fast. They use heavy firepower, but their ships are not built for long battles. Our job is to outsmart them, to hit their weak spots, and protect the innocent. The pilots nodded. They had trained for this moment, but no simulation could prepare them for the real danger ahead. Suddenly, the fleet's sensors detected movement. Dark shapes appeared on the scanners. The enemy fleet was close, much closer than expected. The captain's voice rose over the comms. All pilots prepare for immediate engagement. This is it. As their fighters launched from the hangars, the void exploded with light and sound. Energy beams and missile trails cut through the darkness. The enemy ships were brutal, attacking in waves, trying to overwhelm the human forces. Jason led his squadron through the chaos. He felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as they dodged blasts and returned fire. But something was different this time. The enemy was smarter. They seemed to learn from each attack, adjusting their tactics. During the battle, Jason noticed something strange. The enemy weapons, powerful against most species, seemed less effective against the humans. His wingman, Lieutenant Ava Kim, reported that her shields had barely dropped despite heavy fire. Captain, Ava said, our biology is helping us resist their attacks. Maybe that's why they don't expect humans to fight like this. Jason nodded. Use that to our advantage. Keep pushing. Meanwhile, aboard the Valiant Dawn, Commander Sarah Patel watched the battle unfold on the main screen. The fleet's larger ships fought bravely, supporting the fighters and defending important positions. but the enemy was relentless. Suddenly, a distress signal came from a nearby Allied outpost. It was under attack and close to falling. Without hesitation, Sarah ordered reinforcements to help. "We can't lose that outpost. It's key to our strategy." The human ships changed course, moving faster than ever. The enemy tried to block them, but human pilots used their speed and skill to break through. When they arrived, the battle was fierce. The Allied soldiers fought alongside the humans, their hope renewed by Earth's arrival. Jason and his squadron took the lead, attacking enemy command ships. Their careful strikes caused confusion and disorder in the enemy ranks. As the fight continued, Sarah's tactical team discovered the enemy's weakness, a communication system that, when disrupted, caused their ships to lose coordination. "Prepare. Electronic attacks," Sarah ordered. "Hit their systems hard and fast." The human engineers worked quickly, sending pulses of energy that scrambled the enemy's signals. The enemy fleet faltered, losing their organized attack. Taking advantage, Jason's squadron launched a daring final assault. Their ships flew close to the enemy's largest ship, firing missiles and lasers in perfect timing. With a loud explosion, the enemy command ship was destroyed. The remaining invaders began to retreat. Cheers erupted in the human fleet. They had won their first major victory. Back on the bridge, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "We've shown the galaxy what humanity can do." But she knew the war was far from over. The enemy was wounded, not defeated. Jason looked at his squadron, proud but serious. "This victory is just the start. We fight to protect, to survive, and to win." As the fleet moved to secure the outpost and tend to the wounded, humanity's story in the galaxy was changing. They were no longer observers. They were warriors, leaders, and protectors. And somewhere, deep in the darkness, the enemy was watching. They had met humans for the first time, and they would never forget it. The war was no longer just a distant battle in the stars. Humanity had made its mark, and the galaxy was beginning to take notice. The victories at the Allied outposts had inspired hope across many worlds. The tide was slowly turning. "Commander," Sarah Patel stood in the command center aboard the Valiant Dawn. The room buzzed with activity as officers studied reports and planned the next moves. The fleet was stronger now, bolstered by new allies and fresh supplies. "The enemy is weakening," Sarah said, her voice steady. "Our attacks have disrupted their forces and slowed their advance. But we must not be careless. They will come back stronger." Captain Jason Reed nodded, standing beside her. "Our pilots have learned a lot. We know their patterns, their weaknesses. This knowledge will help us push deeper into enemy territory." Sarah looked at the star map. Several systems once controlled by the enemy were now in human and allied hands. But one dark spot remained, a vast fortress world where the enemy gathered their main forces. "We need a plan to take that world," Sarah said. "It's the key to ending this war." Meanwhile, on the battlefield, soldiers like Corporal Maya Chen fought with courage and strength. Each victory came with loss, but they pressed forward, driven by the hope that their sacrifices would save countless lives. During a quiet moment, Maya spoke with her friend Luis Ortega. "Sometimes I wonder about the enemy," she said softly. "Why are they fighting so hard? What do they want?" Luis shrugged. "I don't know. But I do know we have to keep fighting. For our homes. For our future." Back on the Valiant Dawn, scientists worked alongside military strategists. Dr. Amir Hassan studied intercepted enemy communications and data from the battlefield. One day, Amir made a startling discovery. The enemy's relentless attacks were driven not just by conquest but by desperation. Their homeworld was dying, resources were scarce, and survival was slipping away. He presented his findings to Sarah and the council. "This war is about survival," he explained. "The enemy is not just attacking us, they are fighting to save their own species." Sarah frowned, thinking deeply. If that's true, then maybe there is another way, one that doesn't mean total destruction. But the council was divided. Some leaders believed the enemy must be destroyed to protect the galaxy. Others saw Amir's words as a chance for peace. Captain Jason Reed stayed focused on the fight. Whether they want peace or war, they started this battle. We have to finish it. Plans for a final assault on the fortress world were made. The Valiant Dawn would lead the fleet, supported by Allied forces. The goal was to cut off enemy supplies and force a surrender. As the fleet moved toward the fortress, tension filled the air. The soldiers knew the battle would be the hardest yet. When they arrived, the enemy was waiting. Their ships were larger, weapons stronger, and defenses tighter. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Missiles exploded, lasers flashed, and ships twisted through space in deadly dances. Jason led his squadron in daring attacks on enemy supply lines. His pilots flew with skill and bravery, breaking through enemy defenses and weakening their forces. On the ground, Maya and her unit stormed enemy positions, clearing the way for the fleet's advance. Each step forward was a victory, but the cost was high. Amid the fighting, Sarah received a message from an unexpected source, a captured enemy officer willing to talk. The officer revealed more about their desperate situation and pleaded for mercy. "We fight because we have no choice," he said. "Our world is dying. If this war continues, all of us will perish." Sarah shared this with the council. The words weighed heavily on her. Could there be a way to end the war without destroying an entire species? The council voted to send envoys to negotiate. It was a risk, but the hope for peace was too important to ignore. Meanwhile, the battle continued. The fleet pushed deeper into the fortress world's orbit, and the ground forces secured key positions. Jason and his squadron intercepted enemy communications, learning that their leaders were divided. Some wanted to surrender, others to fight, to the death. As the negotiations began, both sides held their breath. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Finally, after days of talks, an agreement was reached. The enemy would cease their attacks and retreat, provided humanity and its allies would help them find a new home, a chance to survive without war. The news spread quickly through the fleet and across the galaxy. Cheers of relief and hope echoed everywhere. Sarah smiled as she addressed her crew. "This is the result of courage, wisdom, and compassion. We fought to protect our home and others. Now we have opened a new path, one of peace." Captain Jason Reed looked at the stars beyond. "We came here ready for war, but we leave with something greater, a chance to build a future." On the ground, Maya and Luis stood side by side, watching the enemy forces begin their withdrawal. "Maybe this war wasn't just about fighting," Maya said. "Maybe it was about understanding." Luis nodded. "And maybe, just maybe, humanity's true strength is not in weapons, but in hope." The war that had threatened to destroy worlds had changed humanity. They were no longer just survivors, they were leaders, teachers, and protectors of a galaxy ready for a new beginning. The final battle was near. The stars around Earth's solar system had never felt so heavy. After months of fighting far from home, the enemy's core forces had gathered at the edge of human space. This was the moment everything depended on. Commander Sarah Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship Valiant Dawn, her face calm but her eyes sharp. "All ships, prepare for combat," she ordered. "We defend Earth and all who stand with us." The fleet was ready. Thousands of human and allied vessels, each built for war and survival, waited in silent formation. Behind them, Earth's blue glow was a reminder of what was at stake. Captain Jason Reed prepared his squadron. The pilots had grown stronger, more confident. They had faced impossible odds and won. But this battle was different. It was the last. Test in the quiet before the storm, Sarah walked among her crew. She saw fear and hope, exhaustion and determination. "Remember why we fight," she told them. "For Earth, for the galaxy, for every life threatened." The enemy fleet appeared like shadows in the distance. Massive ships, black and cold, moved with deadly purpose. The battle began without warning. Lasers lit the darkness. Explosions rocked the void. Human ships twisted and darted, striking with speed and precision. The enemy fired back with relentless force. Jason led his squadron through the chaos. He felt the familiar rush of adrenaline and fear. Each pilot fought not just for themselves but for everyone they loved. During the fight, Sarah's tactical team spotted something unexpected. The enemy's ships were powered by a rare energy source, one that humans could disrupt. A plan formed quickly. "Prepare a strike team," Sarah ordered. "We hit their power core. Without it, their fleet will fall." Jason volunteered to lead the strike. He gathered his best pilots and ships loaded with special weapons. The mission was dangerous, close to impossible, but vital. The strike team moved through the battlefield, weaving between enemy fire. Their goal was the heart of the enemy fleet, a massive warship that controlled the others. As they approached, the enemy noticed. A fierce defense formed, blocking their path. The pilots fought with skill and bravery, but the enemy was strong. Jason's ship took a hit, alarms blaring. He kept steady, focusing on the mission. Finally, they reached the warship's core. Jason launched the special weapons. A powerful explosion shook the enemy fleet. Without their power source, ships began to fail and drift. The enemy fleet faltered. Human and allied forces pressed the attack, pushing them back. But victory came with a cost. Many ships were lost, and brave pilots did not return. Jason's own ship was damaged, forcing him to retreat with his squadron. Back on Earth, the world watched the battle unfold. People prayed, hoped, and stood united. News of the strike team's success spread quickly, filling hearts with pride. In the aftermath, the enemy retreated beyond the borders of human space. The war was not fully over, but the enemy's power was broken. Commander Patel addressed her fleet. "We have won a great victory, but we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is vast and threats will come again. Our strength, courage, and unity will keep us safe." Captain Reed recovered with his team, their spirits high despite losses. "We fought not just with weapons but with our will to survive," he said. "That is humanity's true power." Across the galaxy, former enemies and allies alike looked at Earth differently. Humans were no longer newcomers or bystanders. They were leaders and protectors. Peace talks began with the enemy survivors. Earth offered aid and a chance to rebuild. The message was clear. War might have forced them to fight, but peace would shape the future. Corporal Maya Chen watched the stars from a quiet planet far from home. She thought about all that had been lost and all that was gained. "We paid a price," she said softly. "But we also found something more, a new dawn." As Earth and the galaxy moved toward a hopeful future, humanity stood ready, not just with weapons, but with courage, wisdom, and heart. The plea from the stars had forced humanity to bring its full military power, and in doing so, it revealed a power greater than any weapon, the power to change destiny.